All right, good night. So, as most people would have seen in the thumbnail, we may have a change for the name from the name Soca Warriors, which obviously we know was in the works and it was supposed to happen because right now the name Soca Warriors is patented by somebody else and there's a lot of legal complications with that using the name Soca Warriors. So the TTFA reached out to the public and had some names. It seems like they had quite a bit of names that were submitted, and then they shortlisted to 12. And again, if the article is right, I haven't seen anything again from the TTFA because that's how they do. They never really tell us anything. We find out by the way. So I saw an article on Facebook talking about possibly the name change to Carnival Kings. Before I get more into it, as always, if you do appreciate the content and the talking about Trinidad and Tobago football, please like, share, and subscribe. I am on my way to making my first goal, which is 1,000 subscribers. So I would really ask if you could help me with this. Just hit the subscribe button and become part of the Trinidad and Tobago fan base as we talk more about Trinidad and Tobago football. So yeah, going back to this, we were once the Strike Squad. Then we changed our name to Soca Warriors, which is attacking aggressive names, to now possibly the Carnival Kings. What do you think about that? My first impression, and it's just how it seems to me, is trash. I don't know what the marketing will be like now for Carnival Kings. It's somewhat unimpressive to me. Doesn't really seem intimidating. Like, all right, a team going to say, hey, we're going to play the Carnival Kings, or we're going to play, hey, we're playing the Strike Squad, or we had to go up against the Soca Warriors. All right, we're playing the Carnival Kings. That's just my first thoughts, first impressions. Again, I'm really hoping that the article is wrong, and subsequently this part of the conversation is wrong also. But we wait to see if an official announcement is made. We know that they have to at some point because, well, obviously marketing, and we want to be able to put out music and things like that, which again might fall under marketing with the new name of the team. But is it Carnival Kings? What's your thoughts on it? Also, if you looked at the thumbnail, you would see it's more like a horror story. And really and truly, what's been happening with this TTFA, honestly, is really nothing short of horrible. And we just continue to go further and further back, it seems, with this TTFA. Let's talk about the point. They relieved the technical director a week and something ago and said that soon to come, or shortly, you would hear the name of the interim technical director. As I mentioned, it's over a week and something now, so I don't know which timeline they're using, but clearly a week and something to name an interim technical director is not enough. Or maybe they have already and just haven't told us, as per usual. The TTFA seems to be working as an island in isolation by itself. I just want to say here that I-95 has a segment called 6 to 26, and for me personally, it's not really my cup of tea because, I mean, Andrea Albertis and the next guy, Tony Lee, I think is his name, I really don't like how they do their commentary personally, and that's just my thoughts. But they had some really good interviews, and I found myself looking at them. One of the first interviews I did was Jack Austin Warner, and he mentioned that since he's out of football, he has not been contacted by anybody in the TTFA. He doesn't even know who the players are right now. And again, this is obviously a resource who was once at the pinnacle of football. And say what you want, he definitely may have ideas or may have something to contribute to Trinidad and Tobago football still, even if it's in a consultant role or just to bounce ideas off of. But this is a little bit alarming. Then they had a segment with Everal Cummings, who again said that, well, he brought up some good points also, which I'll probably kind of discuss at a later time or something. But again, he was once seasoned professional who played for Trinidad and Tobago, who went on to coach and did some management Trinidad and Tobago's team. Again, saying that he should be intimate with everything that is going on, but these are people and these are resources who should definitely at least have an idea, have an input, be a stakeholder, be something, because we need all the resources that we could get, obviously. Well, I say obviously, but clearly it's not so obviously, right? So then I remember the two interviews that I did. I did one with Keith Lukloy, which I guess if you want to go back and look at that, and he has a detailed plan. I did a session also with Mr. Andy Salandi, and he has some really good ideas about Trinidad and Tobago football also. I have spoken to people who actually asked me not to mention their names in any of my interviews because they just kind of really upset with the way that the TTFA is going and has been treating them. So again, these are the horror stories that seem to be negatively impacting our football, because we have a new group, Kieran Edwards and his team are still trying to find their way. But why are we always trying to reinvent the wheel when there are people who were there, tried, tested? But again, that's just my thoughts on the TTFA. Another point, we currently do not have our league going. Everywhere else in the world seems to be playing football except Trinidad and Tobago, and now we have teams in the Caribbean Cup who obviously would be disadvantaged because, as I mentioned, teams playing together, they now having to scramble to make teams to bring in players from other teams to strengthen their unit. And well, that tournament is still going on. Central seems to be out. Well, not seems to be, Central is out. And well, tomorrow is Defense Force game, so still supporting Defense Force, and I still think they could go far in that tournament because they have a different work ethic. But again, come on, get the league right, get people playing football so that we have a chance. We want to choose players who play in football. That is what the coach says. The coach who is never in the country, which is something Everal Cummings kind of mentioned or spoke about. Your head coach is not in the country that he's the head coach of. But again, if there's no football playing, then he doesn't need to be here. He has assistant coaches who, at this point, because there's no football playing, just drawing a salary and doing pretty well, I guess. The media has spoke a lot about that already, so I'm not going to talk about it again. But yeah, In your opinion, do you think this TTFA is doing all that it could do to help Trinidad and Tobago football? And again, I want to circle back to, what is your thought of wearing Carnival Kings or singing something about I am a Carnival King? I don't know, but tell me your thoughts. As always, like, share, and subscribe, and let's talk in the comments, because I'm definitely intrigued or I want to hear what some of the thoughts would be on this possible name change to Carnival Kings. Like, share, and subscribe as always, please. Thanks.